At one point, driving this morning, driving in, it's funny how the temperature usually right down here near the water. So on the throughway,
Okay.
it's always about 3, 4, even sometimes 5 degrees colder here at the studio than it is outside away from the water. It must be the water, right?
The moisture, yeah, probably.
I guess
sure.
that's probably what does it. Anyway, we are looking at one point it was 13 below driving down River Road in the parking lot.
Oh, my.
I have to tell you, I think that the thermometer in my car is pretty accurate. It really almost always matches whatever Andrew has. 11 below zero right now. It was 9 below zero at this time yesterday morning.
Yeah. And
Is that what you have, 11 below?
Yeah, and I have, well, now it's warmed up a bit. It's 8 below now, but
See,
that's
my
without
phone
the wind
says
chill.
3 below. Now it says 4 below.
Really?
That's what it says.
It must not say Marcy.
Oh, New York Mill's 7 below.
Yeah. 9 below here, according to the Weather Channel.
That's the 8 below is my Apple Watch.
And I got to tell you, I never thought the Weather Channel was. How could they be accurate with all of the temperatures? But it is almost always exactly what it says in my car. I wonder if my car is drawing off the. Probably not. Anyway. Cold. 9 below zero. You're saying we're down to 8 below zero, somewhere in that range, but it is as cold, if not colder. Brookfield Central School is closed today because of the weather. Oppenheim-Ephrata is on a 2-hour delay, and so is, I believe, Fort Plain. And I hear from people down that way that watch the TV, Fort Plain. Otherwise, do you know, I was traveling on the Turnpike. Did you see that message I sent you?
No.
Over the weekend? Yeah, you did. You responded to
Oh,
it.
yeah. Well, I thought you meant this morning.
facetious.
Well, yeah, 6 days ago.
I was entering Massachusetts on the Mass Turnpike, listening. It was a little fuzzy, but listening to IBX. It was in Pittsfield, Mass. Could you believe that you could pick up the station there? I mean, it would be. I had left it on 950, so all of a sudden the radio came on, and there we were. But that was pretty wild, right?
Yeah, that's incredible.
Normally, you can't hear us until we get down to once we get to Schenectady in that area, it kind of loses.
Do you think the cold weather has anything to do with it?
I don't know. It wasn't that cold then. As a matter of fact, it was about close to 40 degrees.
Was it that warm?
Yeah, it was really nice before the storm on Friday in Massachusetts. So, all right, I have a bunch to get into here today. I've been listening to this band, and we talked about them a while back when Robert Plant criticized, tongue-in-cheek, criticized this young band from Detroit named Greta Van Fleet. Are you familiar with the band?
No.
We'll play some stuff from them. Some are calling them a Led Zeppelin sound-alike. But they do sound like Led Zeppelin. Their singer's incredible. And because of that, they've been getting a lot of play even before they were really good. And now they are huge and an up-and-coming thing. And we're featured on Saturday Night Live over the weekend, Greta Van Fleet. I want to play a little bit from them. Rachel Sutherland coming up. There's another Dem in the race for 2020. Peter Franklin, Gabby Cabby. We'll talk to Ed Welch. This is kind of interesting about whether or not you should warm up your car. What does it do for you to warm up your vehicle before you drive off, especially when you're talking about temperatures that are very, very, very cold,
right? Which
you're going to be dealing with here this morning. We'll talk with Ed Welch. Also, UPD, what in the hell is going on with this attempted murder of the grandmother? We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Okay, there's a story that I've been working on, and I think this story is about to break, and it's mind blowing. Are you ready? I prepped you. I said I have a story, and you guys, I didn't even share it with you. This is crazy. We've been watching this. We've been watching this Fire Festival documentary. There are two of them. There's one on Hulu, and there's one on Netflix. Are you familiar with the Fire Festival?
Is this in, like, Seattle, Northwest?
No. It was actually in the Bahamas, and there's this guy out of New York that was really the up-and-coming rising star. He started a special New York City area credit card that was metal, and it became a real millennial thing. He was making millions, grabbing investment from all over the place. Decided that he was going to throw a music festival, but not just any old music festival. It was more of a high-end festival. For people that might want to book a major act, for people that might want to go and spend a lot of money, like with cabanas. So you're on a remote, deserted island in the Bahamas, and they bought the island.
Okay.
And they were going to bring everyone in. You'd have chartered flights, private flights that would be coming in. They would handle everything. You would have these bungalows. You could pay, and everybody did. We're talking people were paying thousands of dollars to go see a show. It was kind of like a Woodstock concept, except for the very wealthy, young, wealthy people.
Yeah, on a tropical island.
You were going to get everything.
Yeah.
And it looked, they hired the 10 most popular models, female models in the world. They brought them out for a photo shoot. And it turned into, and when you watch the documentary, you'll see it turned into like a party. Everybody was bombed, and there was a rapper involved. You can look it up. I forget what his name is. Anyway, the documentary is well worth watching. The Netflix documentary is the one that you should watch. And I'll tell you why. Because in the middle of the Netflix documentary, it's determined that all of what they had sold, and they pre-sold everything. You not only spent like $4,000 on your ticket, but then you put another $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on your wristband, so you could get cabana, massages, all sorts of things on the water, while these incredible acts were playing to a small crowd, and you were a part of this small elite crowd.
I'm assuming it's got a resort atmosphere where there's alcohol everywhere. Is there a bar?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Everywhere. Yeah.
When you said resort and it's secluded and all this stuff, I'm thinking
it wasn't even supposed to be a resort. This is something they were filling it with, and they had to build the infrastructure. All of this.
Okay.
Well, it turns out he sold a bridge to nowhere. This guy, and everybody was warning him, we don't have enough. We don't have enough housing. We can't put these people anywhere. Listen, we're going to figure it out. It was one of those, we'll figure it out. I love that, by the way. I use it often.
I was going to say
we'll figure it out.
You said it.
Let's do it now, and then we'll figure it out. But it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to collect people's money and do it, and then realize you're not going to get there. So long story short, there is nothing there. It is a disaster. They have zero housing. The bungalows, this plush, posh housing that was supposed to occur, none of it. It didn't even exist. There was none of it. They lost the original island they were going to do because they broke the contract. You'll understand when you watch the documentary. But when people get there, there's nothing there. There's no transportation. There's no water. There's no sewer. There's no electricity. There's no housing. They have FEMA tents set up.
No way.
And then a rainstorm hits beforehand, and everything gets basically wiped out. They'd brought in mattresses. It was a disaster. So now the kid is in huge trouble. He gets called back for all sorts of illegalities. He's facing jail time, and there he is trying to figure things out in his posh New York City apartment. And all of a sudden, one of the anti-guys that worked with them and was upset because he never got paid, and nobody got paid, by the way, all of a sudden, I hope you're stuck with the story because I'm about to give you the mind-blowing part of it. All of a sudden, he says, we didn't get paid. We were taken advantage of. And this guy, this brilliant guy who's going to jail, had this buddy. I don't know if he was a PR guy or what he was. His name was Angelo Ruffero. And all of a sudden, Angelo Ruffero, the former chief of staff of our former mayor, Ruffero, the current spokesperson for Chuck Schumer, is in the shot. And he's advising or doing something with this guy. And at one point he says, and I quoted it, so I want to make sure I get it right. He says, there's a guy named Angelo. I don't know if he was Billy's PR guy, but I know this guy was very connected. And then you see Rufaro, seen on a laptop computer on an Apple, then subtitles picked up his communication. And he said, you couldn't hear what he said, but they picked it up with subtitles. Just try and keep me out of your stuff because my ... And then you couldn't understand what he was saying. And then he said, I'm not saying anything. And that's where the conversation ended in the documentary. But a lower third graphic identified him as Senator Chuck Schumer's aide. It is Angelo Rufaro.
Wow, that is
Get
crazy.
out of here.
Honest to God, I about fell out of my chair. And that was, and let me tell you, some chairs for me are a little high. I got to tell you, I would have hurt myself. There is another Democrat who's popped in. We thought that, you know, the NY22 and the 2018 race was so much. We had so much inundation of political commercials. We're like, boy, we're going to get a nice breather. Yeah, 2 weeks. We're already thinking about 2020. Rachel, good morning. This is a California Democrat.
That's right. Senator Kamala Harris officially announced that she's running for president. She did so in Good Morning America and then also with a simultaneous social media video. Now, she's a former prosecutor of California, DA of San Francisco, Attorney General of California. This is her first time in the Senate. She is more along the lines of a progressive like Bernie Sanders. She believes in Medicare for all and affordable higher education. And you're right. She joins almost a cast of thousands at this point. There are at least 9 declared candidates, some of them more high-profile than others. One of them you would barely know, Richard Ojeda, a former West Virginia state senator, is running. Elizabeth Warren is running. You have Julian Castro, who is the former director of HUD under the Obama administration, Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii, Kirsten Gillibrand, and the list just goes on and on. That's just who's actually declared. You've got Cory Booker, who is probably going to be looking at this. He's all but certain. Bernie Sanders, I got a text on my phone the other day because I covered his campaign extensively from somebody named Toby saying the 2020 field is shaping up to be a exciting year for progressives. Let's show Bernie. The grassroots is behind him. Sign our petition to encourage him to run, Bernie, run. So I think that that's off the ground. But watch out. There's Joe Biden that could jump into the mix as well.
Wow. And then, you know, they're still talking about there's got to be somebody out there that could actually win. And I hate to add that commentary, but they're still, Democrats seem to have this taste in their mouth where they're just not enjoying the meal as of yet. And they're still thinking that there might be somebody out there that's going to come in and sweep them off their feet. Gotta wonder.
There could be like Beto O'Rourke out of Texas.
Yeah.
But I would keep an eye on Joe Biden. I think that Democrats would be wise to put up a more traditional kind of Democrat, not quite as progressive, because if they put up a progressive, that's just going to help President Trump win from the Democrats' perspective. Because if they're campaigning on something like Medicare for all, that's going to rally the base for President Trump, and he's a shoo-in in 2020.
Very interesting, Rachel. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Rachel Sutherland from Fox News. That Arcasio, what's her face there in New York? Ocasio-Cortez.
Ocasio-Cortez.
She made a statement yesterday. Are you ready? That alluded to the fact that her belief is that billionaires should be against the law. That because there is such a differential between wealth, which listen, in fairness, it's true. I don't know. I was reading a story yesterday. The 30 wealthiest people in the world basically have like 90% of the wealth. There's your top 1%. But the fact that in the world you can become anything you want to become, shouldn't that include a billionaire? Shouldn't someone have the right to become a billionaire? She says no. Wow. Joe Lode standing, that's the current mentality, just so you know. Joe Lode standing by. Hi, Joe. What's your problem? What's wrong?
Well, good morning, Bill. I just wanted to address Dr. Dominio and let him know that his facts are wrong, that actually cold temperatures do not cause the flu. It's actually a virus.
Okay, well,
That
I had
is
said
true.
pneumonia, which is a difference.
That doesn't
between
cause
the flu.
pneumonia. That's a virus, too.
Oh.
I mean, there's a guy out there that can run around in Arctic temperatures and submerge himself in cold water for hours at a time, and he doesn't have the flu.
It's the polar, and as a matter of fact, I think being outside in the cold will prevent you from getting the flu. I mean, it would,
Yeah, but isn't it when it goes back up to 38?
No, that's all wives' tale crap.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
And, not for nothing, but, Bill, do you remember growing up when we were kids, every day was like this?
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
Or
you mean like this?
Yeah, like this temperature.
Okay.
Every day.
What I don't recall, Joe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is we're at 9 below on Tuesday, and it's 48 on Wednesday.
Yeah, that to me is crazy. That must be global warming.
I figured you'd go right there. So. All right, Joe. Thanks, man.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. Yeah. Crazy, right? 40, what are we calling for tomorrow? With rain in the afternoon.
38.
38. We're going to be close to 40 degrees tomorrow.
I
My
round
phone
up
app
when
says
it's
40 Wednesday, 40 Thursday. But let's just call it upper 30s.
Sure.
I mean, how great is that going to feel?
Compared to where you are right now, well below zero, we have two, what schools? Fort Plain and Oppenheim, afraid of St. Johnsville on a 2-hour delay.
And then Brookfield closed.
Brookfield has closed, where it's probably, if you know Brookfield, it's probably, 20 below zero there right now.
So Vicky, who's the teacher from the School of the Deaf, she's a listener, and she had that award.
I do.
She said it's 19 below in Stittville. She sent me a screenshot.
Yeah.
So,
and they're going to school.
Yeah, it's going to be 50-something degrees difference tomorrow.
Stittville.
Oh, Stittville. Right. So a couple notes on a couple things. Andrew's working on a post about Oriskany Boulevard and Genesee Street that there is a water main break.
And which is awful with this cold weather.
I just want to mention that.
Real
and also,
problem.
we just got a message on Facebook that the Route 49 overpass, which is right behind our building, there's possibly an accident over there. And I think they're responding. I don't know how bad it is, but it's just tying up some traffic. Anybody who's heading that way.
It doesn't happen often, but if you are traveling today to take the family out, I know it's a school day, but maybe you were planning to ride the Maid of the Mist and head out to see Niagara Falls. I don't know if that was in your plans today. Don't do it. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe you will want to do it. And if you weren't planning on it, maybe you will want to do it. It's something that is rare and barely ever happens, but it is almost entirely frozen over.
That's wild.
It's quite, cool. Look up the photos. It is quite a picture of beauty in Niagara Falls this morning. It's pretty crazy. Peter Franklin is the Gabby Cabbie in New York City. They say it's cold there, too. We'll talk to him coming up at WIBX. Peter Franklin is the Gabby Cabbie in New York City. How much snow did you guys get this weekend there, Peter?
0, zip, nada, nothing.
I knew that was the place to go. That was the place to go.
No, but biting cold, but no snow.
I'm
not really in the city.
How cold is it right now?
Right now, it's probably, they say with the wind chill factor, probably about 8 or 9 degrees.
Yeah. We're below. I'm going to just have you tell me the topics, Andrew, okay? Right. Because otherwise, we're having a printing problem this morning, and I don't know what's going on, but we're having troubles.
Do you think the world really cares about your troubles?
They don't.
Everybody's getting up this morning. They're worried about their wives. They're worried about their kids.
Very good
worried
point.
About their children. Do you think they really care about your printing problem?
You're right. They don't care. They do not care at all. How about your and I call her loosely your Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, your House member there.
I just want to remind everybody, but the reason that she got into office was she ran against a guy that was thoroughly corrupt.
You believe that? Yeah.
They're trying to make her into some kind of political wonder.
I have to tell you something. The media, not just the left, the middle, but the right as well, they're the ones that are creating it. Do you watch her walk through the Capitol building? It's unbelievable to what there are cameras, and it includes Fox News. They're on her every move. There are cameras following her everywhere she goes. They have created this political entity here, this female.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
You're right.
It's a lot of fluff. It really is. I mean, she's a kid. She was in the right place at the right time. She was up against the right candidate, and it was just the right moment. But if you look at the political history of the United States, that's always happened. You know, Clinton ran just at the right moment.
Right.
Obama ran it just at the right moment. But the important stuff that I have to tell you about is that street food carts are now going to get a letter grade from the city. What am I talking about? Every restaurant in New York City has to have in the window a letter grade, A, B, or God forbid, a C. And that doesn't talk about the ambience. It doesn't talk about the menu. It doesn't talk about the service. It talks about cleanliness. So, I mean, that's a pretty absolute kind of thing. And it really does work. And so I would really advise people that if you are coming down to the big city, if you're going to go to a restaurant, make sure it has an A in the window. If it doesn't have an A in the window, well...
I have seen those letters in the window. I never knew what they meant.
Now you know what they meant, because why I'm the chief correspondent.
So now they're going to add food carts.
The city has now decided to do it for the food carts. And we have about 8,000 food carts. But basically, you don't have to worry much about a food cart, really, cross my heart, because they're selling today's food. That's number one.
Yeah.
The guy is at the same spot day after day after day, so he's kind of regulated. He needs a permit from the health department, and they generally don't go home until they're finished. So it's not yesterday's Frankfurter, it's today. But think about that, 8,000.
It's incredible. And some of the best...
danger in coming here is you're going to get fat, and I'll let you get a word in edgewise eventually.
Some of the best food you'll find in New York City, I really believe it, is the food you find on the street. And
absolutely. I eat that stuff all day long, and when I go home, my wife says, "What'd you have to eat today?" A little green salad.
You will remember the classic... the classic song, "Chestnuts Roasting on a Dirty Grill."
Yeah, but it's not really.
It isn't. You're right.
Listen, you go into any restaurant, you don't see the kitchen. If you're buying it from a guy who's on that's a food stand, you see his kitchen.
You're right.
So, no, there's nothing to worry about. You'd have a pretty bad situation in your own health if you couldn't eat New York City food. Like I say, biggest danger in coming to my little town is you're all going to get fat.
Andrew, throw out another topic.
For the first time in 2 years, city loft renters living illegally in industrial spaces are seeing their best possible chance.
Don't read the whole thing. You got to tip him. You got to tip him to the story.
Sorry,
the hell are you doing? You know what he's talking about. What do you think?
He's talking about the lofts. I mean, it's impossible to get an apartment. If you're thinking of moving to New York and you got a very high-paid job, that's wonderful, but where are you going to live? There's no place to live there. I mean, the city is packed. If you want to get an apartment in New York, you go to a real estate agent who follows the obituaries. Hello, we're very sorry to hear about the loss of your mother. When can we come see the apartment?
There was some celebrity just recently, and I can't think of it now, who's just decided he and his celebrity wife are going to sell their loft apartment. I think it's selling for $38 million. It's really quite incredible.
But there's loft apartments and there's loft apartments. Right. You call that a celebrity loft. Okay,
well,
that's one thing.
But
the average loft is a really pretty crummy place to live, which is supposedly illegal.
This is 5,000 square feet, this place that the celebrity is selling. So you can only imagine how incredible that is.
That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about the ones that are in the old buildings. Yeah. There may not even be a shower or a toilet. In other words, the guy's living in commercial space and really shouldn't be. So they're going to start to regulate it. But the big course and the big problem in Manhattan anyway is Airbnb and companies like Airbnb. Remember, that's just a brand name. They have scooped up so many of the apartments that's another reason why it's impossible to get an apartment here.
Can I throw one more that is off the list here today? Because I want your opinion, because you're the one in the know.
Right.
I just recently sent friends to New York City, and they were excited. They had a blast, by the way. And they discovered something, and they were alerted to something. The alert was, I sent them, I said, if you're going to New York, you got to take your kid to see Santa Claus at the Macy's display. It is the most incredible. You go through the line. The line alone is amazing. Are you familiar?
I'd love to, but
it's unbelievable. So they go to New York, they get all ready, and they go to walk in. This was on the 20th of December, and they were told, you need reservations. It's all sold out until through the entire season. Since when did you have to have reservations? You used to be able to just walk in and you'd wait in line.
Since we started getting 60 million tourists a year. And remember, for you upstate nice people, you're getting a piece of the action, too.
You're right.
That's all tax money and what have you. So don't begrudge us making all the money. This city's making money like crazy.
So now
not everybody, but a lot of people are.
Now you should know, in order to go next year with your kids, you gotta go ahead, whether it's online or call, and get a reservation. But they ended up going to, is it Bloomingdale's?
Yeah, that's another story.
And they walked in. There was Santa there. There was no crowd because everybody was at Macy's. They had hot chocolate for free. There's skating inside. They had a blast, but not at Macy's, but at Bloomingdale's. So it was kind of the tip that they learned. So.
Well, that's the thing. I advise anybody. People sometimes are nice enough to say, "Hey, Peter, I'd like to take a tour with you. When should I book it? I'm thinking of coming down in 2021."
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do.
Book it today, baby.
Yeah. All right, so it's the best tour in New York City.
Yes.
And listen, for 2019, it should be your resolution that you're going to travel to New York and take a tour, a cab tour with Peter Franklin. It's Gabby.com. All right, Peter, thank you, man.
Right, bye-bye.
Have a great day. Peter Franklin. Got a break here. Hold tight. Ed Welch, it's cold outside. Boy, is it cold. And the question is always a bit of a notorious one. Every year, we always ask, should we warm up the car? And if so, how long should you do it? Is it good for your vehicle? Is it good for the engine? Ed Welch, good morning.
Well, good morning. And, you should have led with their other song called Highway Tune.
That's coming up. I love the song. That's their original, and it's an awesome tune.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So
wait,
maybe
Ed
I
knows the
might have
band?
to put that in my bumper rotation on Saturday morning.
Can I tell you, Ed, it's a band that is a current rock band that people of our age and our generation, if you grew up listening to Led Zeppelin, that you're like, wow, I do like this. This is really good.
That's why I paid attention to them, Bill, because normally I don't pay a whole lot of attention to modern music, but
it's a throwback.
Guys, I says, wait a minute, this sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, really good.
So they are really good, and you're right, Jeff. I thought it was Greta Van Susteren the first time I heard the name.
Hey, Ed, don't let people better not count us out when it comes to relevance, man. We know our stuff.
That's right, Bill. Right. And the key to life is to remain relevant. And that's why we're talking this morning, because it's cold out.
All right. So I have heard that it is important to warm your car up, even in the summertime. It's a good idea to at least let it run for maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute in the summer. But I imagine when it's really, really cold, you should allow it to warm up. What do you say?
Well, it's all got to do with oil. And if we talk about motor oil, and we'll keep it, we're not getting too far off the rails here, but at 20 degrees, most motor oils have the thickness of maple syrup.
Yeah.
And that's at 20 degrees Fahrenheit. At 0, it's even thicker. So if you think about it, that oil's got to get to the top half of your engine and lubricate everything, because basically it gets pumped to the top of the engine and gravity brings it back down, right? So the problem is if it's too thick, it's not going to pump very well. Remember in the old days, you used to hear your lifters make noise and all kinds of – it was very exaggerated on old engines. But modern engines are no different. The other problem is if the oil's too thin, it doesn't lubricate correctly. So somebody says, well, I'm just going to run a straight 5-weight oil, which is very thin, or 0-weight oil, which is actually available today, and that stuff pours like water. Well, that gets too thin. So a couple of rules here. First of all, always use the oil that's recommended for your car. More and more manufacturers are using synthetic oil, which I've used for almost 40 years now. But synthetic oil is fairly impervious to the cold weather until you get to about 80 or 90 below zero.
Oh,
so,
I didn't know that. And by the way, synthetic oil will cost you a little more. However, you can go longer before an oil change.
That's correct. So when it comes to the cold weather and it comes to your motor oil, I've always used synthetic. Actually, I learned about that back in the 70s.
Wow, I didn't know it's been around
Alaska,
so long.
Yeah, it was available. Remember the Alaska pipeline?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I knew a guy that worked up there where it was like 50 below zero all the time, and all they used was synthetic lubricants on everything. And of course, I was a kid, and I looked it all up, and I realized, and I learned about them. Yeah. And make a long story short, I've been using them since then. So,
can I ask one question on the synthetic oil,
sure.
Because it is something that I have been talked into and using in my my SUV. I'm told, and correct me if I'm wrong, that once you go synthetic, you can't go back to. I thought there might be a rhyme in there, but there isn't. You can't go back to traditional oil.
Once you go synthetic, everything else is pathetic.
That's absolutely not true.
There we go. That is not true.
No, not
okay.
true.
That is not true. You can switch back and forth if you'd like.
I didn't know that. Okay.
And if price point is an issue, and there's a third alternative here. If you're concerned about price point, they make parasynthetics, to where it's kind of a blend, which is the perfect. There's a great example of how you can go back and forth. It's designed that way. The good thing about parasynthetics is you have some of the properties of synthetic oil, especially the one you want now, is it doesn't thicken up as much when it gets cold.
Yeah. Do you?
So that's the oil is the big thing. So
okay.
When we talk about warming up the car, minimum year-round 30 seconds.
Okay. Year-round. That's important.
Year-round. That's the bare bones minimum. You know, and you got to give the engine time to pump the oil to the top half of the motor. This time of year, I let it go longer. I personally don't like driving a cold car. I mean, I'm a guy that spends a lot of time on a snowmobile, but yet I don't like driving a cold car.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I'm just kind of like that. So I'll warm it up pretty well. I like to get everything nice and warm to operating temperature when it's this cold out.
Part of it is if you haven't warmed up, just the forget about everything with the engine. If you're below zero, the nothing seems to move properly inside your car, right?
That's right. Well, the plastics freeze. I'll give you a great example. Yesterday, I had after I turned my car off the other night, you wake up in the morning and you got some slush and ice on the windshield, right?
Yeah.
So you start the car up and you hit the windshield wipers, and there's a big clump of ice on it. So I get out, I grab a hold of the windshield wiper and I give it a smack on the windshield to get the ice off, and it literally broke the mount on the windshield wiper.
Yeah.
Because it was so cold. So things get brittle when it's very cold, and you've got to act a little differently. 20 below zero up in Old Forge, people up there have a different attitude towards all this.
Yeah,
they got many of them have block heaters on their cars up there,
which is probably a good idea, right? You're able to plug your vehicle right in, and it just keeps the oil warm. Everything
exactly,
yeah.
And back in the 70s, we'd put light bulbs under there. I mean, we tried all kinds of stuff back in the old days to do this.
And Ed, do you change your own oil?
Sometimes, but most of the time I let the guy down the street do it.
Yeah, at this point, I mean, the pricing is pretty good today, right?
Well, see, I'm glad you brought that up.
It depends on how much time I have. I've got all the equipment in my garage. If I feel like to, I'll pull it in and I'll do it. I like to do my own service work when the weather's nice. This time of year, I would not do that myself.
I have to say, a conversation I had with my father, and I'm like, Dad, you're in your 70s now. Have somebody change your oil. And the next line is, well, you could always come up and do it. I'm like, listen, I haven't changed my oil since I bought a Yugo in 1985. Okay?
You changed your own oil, yeah.
That oil just...
nobody would touch it.
I've got to figure out, but a lot of radio guys drove Yugos.
All I know is it was $39.95. It was brand new. It ran till it fell off the frame, which was about 5 years. But it was it moved downhill incredibly quickly.
So Danny Cleanscale used to have one. He used to bring it to the station on Saturdays.
I didn't know that.
We used to. I used to show up with a toolbox every Saturday afternoon to say, "What do we got to fix this week, Danny?"
How about it had a gas cap that was threaded, and it was exclusive to the Yugo. If you lost that gas cap, and by the way, people would steal them because they were like $80 for a gas cap, and you couldn't find one anywhere. I had mine stolen. And it was, I don't think I ever found one. I just found one that would kind of fit on there. And the other thing is the radio was in military time. You couldn't switch the radio to 12-hour or whatever we call ours. Yeah.
So
the tooling for it was actually bought from Fiat. It's actually a Fiat origin.
Okay.
And it was a car that Fiat stopped making because it was they modernized their cars. So think about this: they sold all the old tooling to the Yugoslavians, and they built the Yugos. It's a great story, and the cars. You know what? There was a Cadillac dealer in Texas that actually gave away a Yugo at every new Cadillac.
Yeah, that was quite a promotion. I had to pay for mine though.
So
I was going to say, Bill. So you know something about a Cadillac? Maybe they just gave you the car.
Yeah, crazy. Really, quite a crazy story.
What do you pay for an oil change? A synthetic oil change? What do you expect to pay?
$80.
$80. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, Bill's got that right.
That's a lot. You do it yourself.
It is a lot, but you got to change your oil about every 10,000 miles now.
Is that your advice? 10,000? They always put on my sticker. They always put 6. They just want me back sooner.
And I do mine at 6 because if you think about it, years ago we started with 3-month, 3,000-mile oil changes when we started Auto Talk all those years ago. So I spent many years telling people that, and of course that's not the case today. Many car makers go to a 10,000-mile interval with synthetic oil.
But that was when you say it was 3 years. 3 months, 3,000.
You can go longer with synthetic.
You can. But what was an oil change back then? $15?
Yeah, well, give $20.
It's $80 now.
Well, $80, and they talk to me. Sometimes I'm lonely, and it's nice to just chat with the guy.
Also,
and, you know,
they'll oil your door hinges too.
They do that too.
Yeah.
You want a grease job with that? Sure, bring it on.
Here's a little plastic garbage bag for you.
Thanks. But you're right. It would cost far less to do it yourself. But I wouldn't even know, Ed, on these new vehicles, I wouldn't know the first thing to do. I really wouldn't.
And if you need a new air filter.
Bill, many new cars have a plastic shield under the engine compartment.
Right.
And it's like a big giant cover. It's got 8 or 9 bolts you got to take off just to get to the engine compartment.
Oh, yeah. I had a tough time changing the tire on my vehicle. Manaski, final word.
I was just going to say, if you need an air filter, too, it could run you like $100. The guy told me, I think it was $25 for my air filter. I couldn't believe it. I thought that was ridiculous. But
maybe I've just become spoiled. Ed Welch, we appreciate it. Of course, it's cold. The big takeaway here is not only warm your car before you drive off when it's really cold, but at least a 30-second warm-up before you drive year-round. That's something that we don't do. Oftentimes, we start the car and we hit the gas.
That's right.
All right. Auto Talk is on Saturday mornings on WIBX. Ed Welch, thanks so much. Joseph and Andrew at 315-724-1600. Thursdays are worth $500, by the way, so be ready for that. It's $100 now for Mike in Rome. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning.
You ready to go?
Ready to go.
Did we wake you up?
No, he's just annoyed because he knows he's not going to win.
Oh,
and that's not the right attitude, Mike. You got to be like, screw this crap. I'm going to win this thing. I'm taking the money out of his pocket. Okay? All right, here we go, Mike. You ready?
Ready.
You have 10 seconds to answer this question. The band Led Zeppelin was a huge hit almost immediately in the United States. How high on the U.S. Billboard charts did their first album, Led Zeppelin, reach? Ready? Go.
Say 4.
Is it number 4?
My guess was also 4 joints. That's how
4 joints.
Yes.
The answer is 10. It did reach. It peaked at number 10 on the Billboard charts. And you know, you think about rock. That was the a lot of times pop really. The pop music kind of ruled the charts, and rock, like Led Zeppelin, "Stairway to Heaven" probably never was that ever a hit, Billboard hit. Probably not. We'll give you a gift card to 72 Tavern and Grill. It's a $25 gift card.
Serious?
And it's pretty awesome. And it's for you. So sit tight, Mike. Davey's going to hook you up, okay?
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. And I do love the food over there, whether you're eating what do you like a lot? The Cobb salad, or I love the
tots,
tuna tartare, the loaded tots. And you're watching a game. The drinks are good. It's all pretty awesome.
And their house vodka is Tito's.
72 Tavern and Grill. Yeah, I don't think Stairway to Heaven was ever a hit.
I'm checking it right now.
A top 40 hit.
Well, that doesn't make any sense. But hold on. So
it's one of the greatest songs of all time, but it would not have. I don't believe it hit the pop charts. I could be completely wrong. But
the pop charts, right. I don't know. I should mention, though, for those of you watching,
Billboard's Hot 100.
WFXV Fox 33, their Cash Bash explosion continues tonight. In fact, Mike is going to get a qualifying prize of, you see all this cool merch that we've got out here it's branded basically after all the shows on WFXV. Another chance at $100 tonight by watching WFXV between 9 and 10 to get the cash code, and then you can take it from there. So I did a quick Google search. Stairway to Heaven comes up. It says peaked at number 33 on July 4th of 2015. That can't be right. If 2015?
I didn't know that it made another run on the charts. I think it was Blue Christmas or one of those Christmas songs made another run this past holiday season and ended up on the charts. And as you know, so did that stupid
Baby Shark
song hit the charts. Gotta wonder when that's happening, right? A couple of unique little stories here this morning. We launched earlier today, and it's up on our website. This is crazy. If you've been paying any attention at all to the new Netflix documentary, and there's a Hulu version as well. So there's 2 documentaries on this complete failed disaster, the Fry Festival, which was like a music...
Fry or Fire?
Fire, sorry. It was a music festival for really a bunch of wealthy kids, a lot of them from New York and Miami and L.A., that paid a lot of money to go to this exclusive island where they would be treated to incredible music and an entire weekend. But you're spending thousands of dollars, and you're getting these really cool bungalows. You're getting some people cabanas, and bring your money because you're going to spend a lot of it here.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was paid up in front in advance. And it turned out none of this existed. There was no housing. There were no bungalows. There were no VIP suites. They got FEMA tents, and they loaded them up. But then after the rains came, those were all pretty much destroyed. There was no water, no plumbing, no sewage. It was a disaster. And all of these people, then ultimately the concert, the entire weekend was canceled. So, okay, let's refund everybody's money and pay everybody. No, there was no money left. The whole thing was a ruse. It was all they intentions probably were there to create something huge, but it never actually happened. Crazy, right?
That is wild.
So,
are there any buildings? Are there any physical structures on the island that you're talking about?
They had to move the show to. They ultimately moved the show to. They had to move it to another island, and I'll tell you what that island was. I pulled it up here, but after moving it, see, they had an island that they supposedly were going to buy, and it became controversial, and the deal went through, fell through. So they had to move to another place, and they ended up going to in the Bahamas, one of the islands in the Bahamas. But they went at a time where there was another festival going on there.
Oh.
It was just a gigantic disaster. So the whole thing doesn't happen, and this documentary is unbelievable to watch. And midway through, towards the end of the documentary, I look, and you'll never guess what I see. But I see former chief of staff of former Mayor Dave Ruffero, his nephew, I believe it's his nephew, Angelo Ruffero. Ruffero is there with the guy, this Billy McFarland, who ultimately spent time in jail, I believe. It was his festival, and it looked as if Angelo Ruffero was giving him like advice or giving him some sort of PR advice, and the guy that had been wronged, not paid, and all part of this was describing it this way. He said, "There's a guy named Angelo, and I don't know if it was Billy's PR guy, but I know this guy was very connected." Ruffero was then seen on a laptop computer, and subtitles picked up his communication. He said, "Just try and keep me out of your stuff because and then whatever he said after that I couldn't understand. I'm not saying anything," he said. And that's where the conversation ended in the documentary. And his part of it completely ended. But it left it out there that this former chief of staff, this Utican, now Chuck Schumer's press secretary, is smack dab in the middle of this controversy. If you're Schumer, you're going to be like, what are you doing in this documentary? Right?
And this was only in the Netflix one, not in
It is not in the Hulu version.
The Hulu version.
Yeah. It's only in the Netflix one.
So never know you went to Fire Island.
The Netflix documentary tracks the failed Fire Festival, which was a luxurious music festival scheduled to take place on the Bahamian island of Great Exuma. That's where it was. Over 2 weekends in April and May of 2017. It was something that was going to be every year, too. All of these people from this island, they all went to work. They all gave materials because it's almost like our nano. It was going to create jobs, and it was going to be the thing. And by the way, after we do it 1 year and we're successful, we're coming back every year. This is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge boon for our economy. And everybody got screwed. Nobody got paid. The event, a disaster, and later declared fraudulent, was supposed to feature luxurious accommodations and A-list music acts. None of it happened. The event was canceled by authorities after people didn't receive the services and perks they paid for. In fact, there was no housing, plumbing, or water, and that investigation is ongoing still to this day.
It's almost...
And there's Angelo Ruffero in the documentary right in the middle and seemingly consulting this Billy McFarland, who was, I believe, sentenced to, 6 months or 6 years in jail or something like that.
It's like a vacation Ponzi scheme almost.
It was a complete, like a Ponzi scheme. Yeah. Crazy. So the question would be, can we get Angelo to talk? And we're reaching out. What's he doing in there? What's his relationship with this Billy McFarland? How involved was he in this whole thing?
Is he a victim too?
And was Chuck Schumer going? Were they going? You had to think they were going to the show, right?
Oh.
Yeah. And did they get screwed? Gotta wonder. So we'll keep asking the questions here on this. It's up on our website at WIBX950.com. I know that Lieutenant Brian Coramato is looking into it right now as we speak. Good. Listen, I'm watching this documentary. It's crazy. Who would expect to see somebody that you know, right?
I know. I hear you.
Mind-blowing. And that's probably the same thing Schumer was saying.
Yeah.
Who would have expected
like Angelo.
That looks like Angelo. Okay. A not-so-happy topic. What is going on in this world? This attempted murder of a grandmother, right?
Yes.
What is this story?
So late, about 9 o'clock Sunday night, officers responded to a third-party call of a domestic report at 1654 West Street on the first floor. The caller relayed that it sounded like the female resident downstairs and her grandson were arguing. When patrol officers arrived, they spoke with the caller, and the caller explained to them that the grandson had fled in a vehicle towards the parkway and gave a description of that vehicle. When the officer made entry into the hallway of the apartment, the first floor of the building, he realized there was smoke coming from the first floor apartment. He made forced entry into the apartment. That's where he located the female victim, who appeared to have slashing wounds and burn marks. He extracted her from the building. Obviously, she was then treated by UFD and transported to a local hospital. Ultimately, she's out in Syracuse at this point in very critical condition.
Wow.
And then we were able to talk to her before she was being treated and before she was put into induced coma. And she explained to us what happened and that she was attacked by her grandson and described who he was and what type of vehicle he had and things like that. About 4:30 later that morning, the next morning there, officers located the vehicle at the Happy Jury Motel and then ultimately was able to get the suspect out without incident. He's been charged with attempted murder and assault first degree at this point.
Wow. Attempted murder charge of his grandmother.
Awful.
Makes it seem even so much worse when you think about it.
Absolutely.
There have been some brutal crimes lately. What is going on, Brian?
And the last one involved the double homicide. One of the victims
grandmother.
was a
That
grandmother.
involved a grandmother, too?
It's the grandmother, yeah. I don't know if I have an answer for you for that.
Yeah.
It just seems that just some incidents that occurred and this isn't. I don't
Just
think
the
this
timing,
is the norm for our area. And
Yeah.
it's the bad timing for both incidents. At this point, with this case, we're still kind of working on a motive for what caused this and what brought him to this. So obviously, this is still ongoing, still early.
Sure.
Yeah.
And ultimately, all suspects are innocent until proven guilty, et cetera, et cetera.
So also, in the release and in conversations I've had with you, you said additional charges are pending. Would an arson charge be considered?
Yes. We're working with the Utica Fire Department, their fire marshals, and they're conducting their investigation. And once their results are completed, we will, and our results are completed from our crime scene guys, we'll look forward there with the district attorney's office and apply what charges are applicable.
All right, Brian. Thanks so much, Lieutenant Brian Coramato.
No
one more
and
question
then one
from
more
Andrew.
thing. So you are making progress on the search for Nathan O'Bain's cell phone, or how is that coming?
Yeah, that's something you believe that he might have discarded a cell phone.
Correct. We're not able to locate a cell phone. We do know he had one, so we're hoping that we're able to locate it, kind of put it out there to the public to see if anybody come across it. We have had some calls in, and we actually did get a cell phone turned into us, which was analyzed and was found not to be his.
Right.
But we're still waiting. Hopefully, we'll come across it.
All right, Brian. Thanks so much, Lieutenant Brian Coramato, UPD.
Take care, guys.
Thanks. Just terrible stories. Speaking of some bad stories involving old people, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not dead. Fox News made a mistake yesterday.
You're kidding.
They did not.
They did. And actually, so much so that they had to make an apology. Fox News accidentally showed a picture of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg yesterday with dates on it, her birth and her death. And here is... Yeah, it is not uncommon, just to be fair,
right,
that networks, especially network television, will, when it's feared that someone might have reached the percentage, that upper percentage area where a celebrity of some sort is, it's possible they could die. Oftentimes, whether it's a president or a legendary performer even, or a Supreme Court justice, they'll create get all the footage ready and do their memorial type thing. Get all that stuff done.
Sure.
So the minute it happens, bang.
Right, just in
they're
case.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
How do they do this so quickly? They put together this incredible piece on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Well, those tend to not get out before the death. That's part of the key. You want to save them for when they die.
Yes.
And not get them leaked. They had to issue an apology yesterday.
We need to apologize. At the beginning of Ainsley's interview with the professor, a technical error in the control room triggered a graphic of Ruth Bader Ginsburg with a date on it. We don't want to make it seem anything other than that was a mistake, that was an accident. We believe she is still at home recovering from surgery. Big
we
mistake.
Apologize.
On the control
Big
room.
mistake, yes.
Big mistake. It was wishful thinking, don't get me wrong. But it was, God bless
big mistake in the control room. That person's now been fired.
Oh, and I have good news if you're feeling like things are just, you're down in the dumps. And you're feeling like you need a real pick-me-up. And a lot of people will turn to prayer when they need to feel more hopeful. And there's something new for you from the Vatican. Excited to tell you, it is addressed from the Vatican on Sunday. The Pope introduced a new app. There's an app for that on iPhones and Androids called Click to Pray.
Vorrei presentarvi la piattaforma ufficiale della Rete Mondiale di Preghiera del Papa. Click to Pray.
Click to Pray. You can hear that in the end.
Apple's got a version. It's iPray.
Yeah, so you can. Well, there's an app. There's one for the iPhone, and there's one for the. There is one also for the Android phone. So it's out there. And there's an 86-year-old grandmother in St. Louis, Missouri, who's lost 120 pounds by exercising every morning. The problem is she doesn't have the ability to really get out, and she lives in a one-bedroom apartment. So that's where she does her walking. Round her little apartment, and round she goes.
Oh, boy.
She went from a size 22 to a size 4. Still does her morning walk from the kitchen to the living room and back to the kitchen and back to the living room. 3,000 steps a day. She's lost 120 pounds. So you don't have to have a big palatial 5,000 square foot home. You can do it
or a gym membership
in a little apartment. We are so oftentimes late, and that's because we are like in A Bug's Life. We're like the people that can't stop looking at the shiny blue light.
I can't stop.
And we fly right into it. It's terrible. So fly in there, Manaski.
Sorry, I made a funny, I think, yesterday. Someone asked me, who's not, actually, it was Stephanie, our former producer. She was asking me about the weather here and how brutal it was. And I said, I was telling her with the wind chill it was going to be like 30 below. It was going to feel like 30 below. And I said, interestingly, this place is the exact opposite of hell over the next 2 days. But at the same time, it's nothing like heaven. I mean, that's how brutally miserable
this
it was.
Could be how.
Bill just gave me the look of go have a cigarette because you're not even making sense anymore.
Well, I'm only going to tell you that it's where we live, and I hate it when people tell me that. When I'm complaining, they'll say, "Hey, come on, it's where we live."
Yeah,
we
but
have to
you've lived here long enough to
have
the right to complain about it.
I know that. I just prefer global warming. All right, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of global warming. That's right. Bring me the Glade. That's how I end every day.
Aerosol cans. Two double fisting aerosol cans.
Ron Mosher standing by from Utica. D. Good morning, Ronald. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Hard to believe we're going into our final weekend of January. The 30.
Yes, and it feels like it.
It does feel like it. By the way, you're absolutely right.
Ron, this is where we live, man. Come on.
But
this is where I've lived all my life, Bill. So.
Listen, we all get it. But what I'm basically saying here is, we're already moving well through the high school seasons. Whether you're talking about wrestling or basketball, whatever, we're moving through these seasons, and before we know it, we're going to be talking about playoffs.
Well, yeah, without a doubt. We only have a couple more weeks of regular season. Off the top of my head, I think it's like February 13th is when the seedings come out for the boys and girls basketball tournament. And and your Central Valley Academy wrestlers are in the state dual meet championships this weekend, I believe, Saturday at Onondaga Community College too. So that should be good. They're winding down too. Is it this weekend or a week after? They qualified anyway. Of course, that was abbreviated because I think there were 10 teams, and it was whittled down to 5 because of the weather on Saturday. So,
that slowed everybody down. All right, well, where are we? Let's take a look at the basketball side. What are we looking at? And I know there's some teams that are really rising to the top here.
Oh yeah. In fact, there's a couple of rematches tomorrow that I'm really looking forward to. In Class C, you have Cooperstown, who's 15-0, and they're number 2 in the state, behind only Lake George, who's also unbeaten. And they've got a rematch tomorrow night at Herkimer County Community College with Utica Academy of Science. And like I said last week, I don't know a lot about Utica Academy of Science.
Yeah.
Their program's only 2 or 3 years old, but they're 14-1, and their only loss is to Cooperstown back in December. So that should be a great one. In that game, I think Utica Academy of Science led at the half, and Jack Lambert, the great player, the coach's son for Cooperstown, had 30 points, and they outscored him by, I think, 18 in the second half, and Cooperstown wound up winning by 15 in that game. So that should be a great one. I mean, Utica Academy of Science, I think, has won 10 in a row since then. And, it's funny, Cooperstown's got a Jack Lambert. You guys are old enough to remember the toothless linebacker for the Steelers. So Cooperstown's got a guy named Jack Lambert. They also have a John Kennedy, who's about 6'8".
Wow.
And I think he's very young. He's a freshman or a sophomore that they got from the wrestling team, believe it or not. And his brother Owen was a great player at Cooperstown a year or two ago. So they've really got it going right now. And I'm sure Utica Academy of Science is looking forward to that game tomorrow night.
They say that Kennedy kid, if you were to put him back like 30 years, he'd actually be a Republican.
That's not my department, Bill.
Sorry about that.
And the other big rematch, I think, in my opinion, tomorrow is Rome Free Academy and Notre Dame, two of the best teams in the area in the Tri-Valley League. Going at it again, and Notre Dame went to RFA, or Notre Dame beat RFA by 16 the first time, and that was when the senior guard Jalen Warmack went off for I think it's a career high 39 in that game. And RFA now is 12-3, got a great player in themselves in Damian Call. And remember, Notre Dame's class AA now, same as RFA, same as West Genesee, Corcoran, the big boys in Section 3, and I think Notre Dame obviously has proven that they belong in AA after winning A last year. And they got 2,000-point scorers in Jalen Warmack and Trajan Garrett. And RFA comes at you with Damian Call, a super athletic. I think he's only a junior. It should be another great game between two great TVL teams. And in the TVL, can't forget Whitesboro. They've moved up a little more in the Class A state rankings, and Garrett Hertham's really got it going there. And I just did a story on Tommy Morial, a great kid who may wind up at SUNY Poly with another former Whitesboro great, Josh Gregory. He may go there or Oswego. I think he's got it down to those two. He just became Whitesboro's all-time leading scorer. And if Whitesboro can pull it off and win a Section 3 title, it'll be the first since 1972. And back then, Marty Hertham, a lot of people around here know Marty, big Whitesboro fan, and was a standout on that Whitesboro basketball team that won a section title in 1972. and now his son Garrett is the coach at Whitesboro. It would be a great story if they can pull it off.
Ron, I want to ask you one final question, if I could. Your take on the potential for a video review of pass interference in the NFL. What do you think after this weekend's debacle with
Without a doubt,
the Saints?
At least in the last 2 minutes. I don't care if it drags the game on for 15 more minutes. That was absurd.
I'd like to see it.
I got to tell you, I'm showing my age because I wanted the Breeze. Well, I didn't really want Brady, but if Brady's in it, I wanted Brady Breeze,
Yeah.
The 40-year-olds going at it.
I agree. I think that would have been really cool.
It should be.
That took the game away from them.
There too.
Yep.
That was helmet to helmet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Be so careful now with that.
Yep.
That was that, and it was pass interference.
How did they, Ron? I hate to say, and I hate to be that guy that is. I hate to do this, but it totally gave the opportunity. And what they say is refs don't throw games. They give those who say and believe that stuff is fixed. They give opportunity to change the spread. And when you think about it, the Saints were giving up 3 points. That completely changed the spread and changed the winners, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. I disagree with that.
I don't even care about the spread because I don't bet. But I care about winning and losing, and the Saints should have won that game, in my opinion. They had it won. They had it won with that call. It would have been a 1st and 10. They would have run out the clock.
And then kicked the field goal and won by 3, so it would have been a push.
That guy
it would have been a push, but
it should have been pass interference, and he you could tell by his reaction, he was looking around for a flag. I think he was stunned that there wasn't one.
The defender said, I was beat on the play. He was going to score. I was trying to foul him.
But going back, though, it would have been a push, but ultimately it was a loss. Right? If you bet.
Yeah. Well, but there's only you can only go one way or the other. One team's going to win, one's going to lose. So it's I guess so. Yeah, I guess so.
Well,
it's not like the Saints
there were some people that were happy that it happened, believe me.
What I'm saying is it's not like the Saints were going to cover and now they didn't.
Right.
Either way, if you were on the Saints side, you weren't coming up with a win.
They weren't going to score a touchdown.
And one more thought on that. I heard yesterday, and I cannot believe this, but because sports betting is becoming, legalized now in so many places, including here in New York, there were several websites that, and you will never hear this, refunded the money of people who bet the Saints.
In our paper this morning, New Jersey, they refunded the bettors.
And that is probably, if you're in that emerging market worth billions of dollars, if you let your bettors know that if you feel like you've been egregiously screwed out of your $50 or $20 or $1,000, if there's a call so blatant and awful that everyone agrees it's wrong,
your money.
We'll give you your money back. How many people don't bet because they think what you said, it's fixed, it's rigged, I'm going to get screwed out of my $50 or whatever. To refund, that's unheard of.
I can tell you this, a call like that doesn't make people feel confident when it comes to officiating in one of the biggest games of the year, right?
Absolutely. Without a doubt. And you know what? I wouldn't have been upset if it was a quote-unquote late flag because obviously it's not just one official's call. Somebody else could have called it.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I can't believe everybody on the field missed it.
And, Ron, you're those were 2 calls. That was clearly helmet to helmet. And how about the I don't know which game it was now because it's all a blur to me, but the roughing the passer.
Brady. Just going to bring it up.
Are you kidding me?
Against Brady.
He didn't even touch the face mask. It wasn't even close, and it became roughing the passer.
When they do the rules change, they got to say roughing Brady, 30-yard penalty, automatic elimination from game.
By the way, how did the ref see that? He was behind him.
Yeah, I couldn't even see
it. Brady moved his face.
You know who made that call? Giselle from home.
Yeah.
I think that was a case of the ref had a horrible angle, and he just thought he saw
Yeah, but
what
don't
he
you
saw.
have to see it to make the call?
Well, it looked at first in real time quickly. You saw Brady kind of do a little bit of equivalent of a flop in basketball. He moved his face a little bit.
Listen, Andrew, from behind, you look like Bill McAdams. Okay, You can't make that call until you get out in front.
No, I know.
And one more thought on the Saints call. I heard someone saying, I thought it was pretty good. They said everyone's looking for 15 yards for pass interference. He should have got 5 to 10 for assault because of the helmet to helmet contact.
All right, Ron, we'll let you go. I appreciate the talk. Thanks, man.
All right, hey, thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, Ron Mosier from the Utica OD. Quickly, I want to go to Rick Lewis, who's standing by. Out in Rome at the Capitol. You're at the Capitol. What do we call it again? It's the
Cinema Capitol.
The Cinema Capitol, which is at the Capitol Theater. And it's your breakfast with the announcement of the Oscar nominees, which is going on right now as we speak. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Bill. I would have called you earlier, but we had people at the door before 7:30.
Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Braving the cold to watch the Oscars here on our on a movie screen.
So, so you're watching the nominations, and that is going on. It started at 8:20, so it's still going on right now, right?
Yeah, we're right in the middle. They're going to a commercial break right now, in fact.
I'm wondering, have you seen it? How's Bohemian Rhapsody done? I expect that to do pretty well.
Well, I'll tell you what. I haven't really had a chance to catch many of the nominations. I don't think they've nominated films yet.
Okay,
the best
all right.
movies. They've gone some actresses and actors and some technical awards. It's television. They got to build the drama to the big announcements.
You're right. So. And I would think by the time they get to Best Actor, the kid who played in Bohemian Rhapsody's got to be nominated.
Rami Malek.
It's just incredible. So, All right, Rick. So you've done very well there. It sounds like a great crowd. People are out. Hey, if you give them something to do, they will come.
Yeah, even in the freezing, frigid cold in an early morning hour, this has really been a great. A great surprise and a wonderful event. So,
all right, pretty cool, Rick. It was a clever idea. Good for you.
Yeah, and you know what? Since Cappuccino's was supplying the coffee and the donuts and other pastries, I think everybody's full, warm, and awake.
Nice. All right. Well, good for you. All right, I'm glad that's worked out. Thanks, Rick, and thanks for the update.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. They're doing an Oscar breakfast for the announcements on the big screen, which is really kind of cool. Luke Critelli, I want to chat with you on the Valley View Golf Course. They're trying to get rid of the commission? Is that what is being talked about? By the way,
hang on, Lou.
There is a, I believe, a court action on this whole thing going on right now. It is quite the controversy over at the golf course.
The real controversy apparently is how it's managed.
Well, yeah.
Mark Williamson is frustrated because he's tried a number of things. Talked to the mayor. That nothing happens when you talk to the mayor about the golf course. And the fact is that after the audit in 2016, I've reviewed the audit. Nothing's been done by the commission.
Yeah,
and that's frustrating to hell. You can't get the council interested in it. You can't get the mayor interested in it. And we're trying to get a number of people at the meeting, which is tomorrow afternoon at 4:30.
Okay.
In the caucus room of the council, where hopefully that'll be discussed. It's a terrible. I already told them. It's a terrible idea that's bringing back the golf course the way it was in 1978 before we passed that law.
So you think it's a bad idea to get rid of the commission?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The idea is to get the commission to do its work.
So here's the question: Isn't the story that I've not followed the story, but that some relationship to the mayor has been the director of the golf course or the pro?
Well,
which is it?
That was one of them. Yes.
Okay, and then there was a city car that was being used, City Phillips. Then all of a sudden they came after him, and then he's come back to say, "Wait a minute, the mayor told me this is what I could do." Am I correct on any of this?
Yeah, you're right on, and that story hasn't come out clear at all since it happened.
Yeah.
It's been low-keyed by everybody, and we got to get beyond that and try to solve the problem that Mark has. And I've been with him for a long time talking about Valley View, and when he came up with this suggestion, that's how it was before 78. They just cut the grass.
Yeah.
They just cut Now we got a great golf course, one of the best in the area. And yes, we need some remanaging. And that's one of the things I hope comes out of the meeting tomorrow.
Lou, though, I got to wonder, how is this not? It seems like every few years we go back to another big controversy where it's being mismanaged. How does this happen with a commission?
Well, it happens because the mayor he appoints all the members of the commission.
Yep. Okay.
So Lou, can't you? Isn't there a way around that? Because that's the problem. And what somebody had mentioned, well, getting rid of the commission. You say the commission's got to. If it's just political appointees, and if people are running the course who don't know how to run a course, you're going to have this happen.
Right. Why not operate it like a business?
Well, that's what we hoped it was going to be. We hoped it was going to be.
Yeah.
But it's one thing setting up a commission. It's another them assuming complete responsibility, how they handle the money, how they plan the programs, how they make sure everybody's on the job and doing their work. It's hard for an appointed group to do this. But if you're we never thought we put in the law they could appoint a manager. But I don't believe they've ever made a detailed list of duties for that manager.
Right.
So he becomes just somebody who goes to the golf course every day and makes sure everybody's on the job. That's not enough.
But okay, so different than, let me ask you your thoughts on this. Different than like a department head, let's say like a DPW commissioner, who is in a situation where you're constantly spent, right? You're plowing, you're salting, you're mowing, whatever. You're never bringing revenue in. Why wouldn't they have almost like a department head? Because this is an opportunity where the city could actually generate revenue, right?
For God's sakes, you have a golf course within the city limits. It's a real positive.
It is a positive, and it is a source revenue.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Bill, for years I've been complaining because the mayor's taken money out of the budget and given it to the controller for doing the job that the specs say he has to do.
Yeah.
He does the same thing for the golf course that he does for every department, but he's taken money out of the budget, which they need to make all these improvements, and nobody stopped them.
All right, when is the meeting is tomorrow?
Tomorrow afternoon at 4:30.
Okay.
In the council chambers.
And you want people to show up to this meeting and have their voices heard.
Right, exactly.
And it's a council meeting or a committee meeting, Lou?
No, it's a committee meeting.
Yeah, okay.
All right, Lou Critelli, thanks for keeping your eye on stuff, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you for giving me the time, though.
And by the way, are you running for office this year? You should run. You're already doing the job. You're out there. It might be time for you.
He thought that was the funniest joke ever.
I have a 93-year-old ready for office.
Listen, I'm just telling you, your eye on the ball is worthy of noting it. I think that maybe you might as well just run and get it over with. So I'm just saying. All right, Lou Critelli, thanks, man.
Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. I shouldn't call him man. That would be disrespectful. Sir would be the thank you, sir.
You know, I bet he would beat. You play, what is it, racquetball? Is that what it is?
Is he a good racquetball player? I love racquetball.
He says he is.
I haven't played in a long time.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'd like
you
to
know
begin
how to play?
playing again, yeah.
I haven't played in...
I broke somebody's nose playing racquetball. Gordy Ackerman, sorry about that.
With a racket?
I played with a professor in college one time, and
Hey, don't get in the way, man. Don't get in the way.
Yeah. You got to watch out.
This is serious.
I cross-checked my professor in college. We were playing, and I got behind him, and I was like, he was in my way. So I just, little bump.
It's about winning.
This is, let's do it. You can do 2-on-2, right?
No, that's a small room.
Yeah, I've never played with two people. I guess maybe you can.
I wanted to say Lou and I against
but you have somebody out, and then you're watching, and then you're sitting and you're watching their game, and then you pop in. I mean, you can play with other people, just not at the same time. I don't think so.
Right.
And if I can say one thing about this this story that's become blown up, I think we said it best yesterday on the kids. The march over the weekend with the Nation of Islam or whatever that group was, they were shouting out anti-white issues, and you had this group of high school kids that were apparently disrespectful to the Native American, and the Native American that was banging the drum, and now the president's tweeting out on this that sure enough, that's all fake news. listen, I'll bet you, based on the whole story, as we said yesterday, there's fault that can be found with everybody involved. This Native American has been a protester since, and by the way, a veteran of the United States military. He's a Vietnam veteran, but has been protesting since the 60s. So he knows an opportunity when he sees one, and I think he saw a great opportunity with these young kids. At the same time, when you see the photo of this kid staring into the eyes of that Native American, I'm sorry, whether you're Republican or you're a Democrat or you're a liberal or you're a conservative, the least you could be is a parent for one moment and look at this from the eyes of a parent. And if my kid ever stood up to someone like that with a blank-ass smirk on his face, staring into that person who is his elder, I would have him blistered. I can't even tell you what I would do. I can't blister his rear end because he's in his teens at this point. But let me tell you, disrespectful. The kid should have walked away. And if you're not taught by age 17 that you don't be sarcastic or stare into the and give that smirk into the face of somebody who was your elder, then you've not been taught properly. I'm sorry. There should be no defense of those kids. I think everybody had some wrong in this situation. I don't think it was as it was originally reported. But to defend that kid for his actions is despicable. It's why we have the problem we have today, because kids have no respect. It's not a Republican comment. It's not a Democrat. Don't give me that crap. It's parenting 101. A little respect for a change would be nice. It's just my opinion. That story angers me. That picture of that kid angers me. Sorry, 8:37 at WIBX. I'm waiting for somebody, because it's become political. It's not political. It's parenting 101. Teach your kids to be respectful. And sometimes older people are a-holes. Don't get me wrong. They are. But your 17-year-old should not be picking a fight with them or even reciprocating. That's how I feel.
What was the issue about?
The guy's bound. Let me tell you, you think they were being respectful when they were dancing along with the Indian, I can't say Indian, with the Native American. When they're dancing along and they're doing the chant with him. Do you think they were being respectful? They're not. No. They're laughing. Come on, these are kids, and I'm not saying these are terrible kids, because kids will be kids. To imply that they're going to Washington, D.C., I don't think they give two craps about the whole abortion thing. They're going to D.C. This is party time. This is what I would, if I'm going on a field trip, it's a field trip. So they're out having fun. There's some other videos of those kids out there. They're having a good time. And it's not all this serious, religious. They're out there having a good time. But if you get to the Native American is banging the drum and he's doing his thing.
He's pro-choice.
He was not.
Is that right?
No, he had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
He is protesting for the issue of how Native Americans have been oppressed in the United States through history. You've got the other guys involved that are the anti-white guys. And they're really heckling these kids. Okay. And their defense is saying that we were doing what we were doing to deflate the situation so there wouldn't be any violence. That's bullcrap. First of all, I know what those guys are like. They have the same ones in New York City. The reason those kids didn't antagonize the Islam Nation of whatever that group is because they'd kick their ass. They'd beat the daylights out of those kids. They're all big, big guys, and they're scary. That's why they didn't antagonize them. Well, we were trying to make sure we diffused. We were doing the right thing. We didn't want to get in there and beat them up. Oh, yeah, like you're going to beat them up? Now, the Native American guy is an old guy. He seems frail. He's a Vietnam veteran. So instead of getting in the face of the Nation of Islam guys, they get in the face of the Native American guy. All I'm saying is disrespectful. That's all I'm saying. Don't portray them as martyrs in this situation, because that's what's currently being done. It's being turned into another political issue. I think they were probably all somewhat in the wrong, but give me a break.
Hey, Bill.
Okay, John. Tell me what you think, John.
Bill, these guys are punks, man. I watched this guy on the news this morning, and he was totally, they degraded him. And hit their buddies that were in the background were doing a tomahawk chant.
They were doing that. You're absolutely right.
Did you see that?
That is not how I would want my kid to act.
If that was my kid, I would beat the living crap out of him.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I agree with you 100%.
This veteran should have not been treated like that.
Well, let's not substitute disrespect for the elderly with child abuse.
But these guys should have never.
I was going to blister his ass.
We're going to go with that one.
I'm getting messages here on this.
These punks, they were out of line.
And John, this is not political. Why does everything have to become political today?
That's because of the
It's where we
media.
are. I know.
So,
it's where we are.
Yeah, Bill, I'm with you, man. That kid should be suspended from school or whatever.
At the very least, his parents should say, "Son, we don't act that way."
Well, that's not going to happen.
And let's hope it is. We don't know for a fact, but let's hope it is. So.
Okay, Bill.
Okay, thanks, man.
Have a good day.
I appreciate it.
I've got a
that story angers the daylights out of me.
Jeff on Facebook here says, I also smile at those who are foolish and trying to intimidate me. If respect must be tendered only due to age, then it has no basis in the entire concept of respect.
The ones they should have been then confronting were the anti-white Nation of Islam guys, because this guy was simply beating his drum. He wasn't intimidating these kids. They were mocking the Native American guy.
He says respect must be given before it's received, and then he adds, Bill, watch the full video. It's clear you haven't.
I did watch the full video, and I've watched other videos as well there. Johnny Rocket, watch all the videos. They were kids. Oh, it wasn't Johnny Rocket?
Jeffrey Rocket.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Hello, Larry Rocket. Good morning. How are you?
Okay, and Nagel's also saying here, Nagel's chiming in, it's black Hebrew Israelites. It's not the Nation of Islam.
You're right. But they're the same guy. It's the same type of thing. Very anti-white. They're white privilege stuff. And you walk through Times Square, they'll start like yelling at you. You feel a little nervous. I don't know about anybody else, but I usually cut across another street. I don't want to get in the middle of all that crap. Hi, Larry. You're on the radio. Good morning.
Hey, Bill. To get back to the Saints game, maybe Jeff and you guys remember this. You remember a few years ago with the NBA, they had the referee got caught.
Tim Donahue
and all that.
Tim Donahue.
Donahue.
Yeah, something like that.
How many don't get caught? That's the question. Now, the guy in the Rams game, and years ago, they talked about doing full-time referees so that they would be there, train, and all that. These guys they're part-time. Manansky could be a ref. He could be leaving the weekend, and you say, hey, I bet the Rams.
Yeah.
Manansky don't care who wins or loses. He's going to help you out or whatever. And I mean, you got to look at that. That guy him and his family may have bet the Rams. You don't know that.
You got to understand something.
They get paid very well, though.
They are compensated very well.
Well, you have to do that, otherwise it's trying to impede cheating.
Right.
Well, let
absolutely.
me ask you this: if that's the best officials, then the league's in trouble.
Well,
the league is in really trouble.
I don't know how that call could have been missed. Considering
think about why it's missed.
Well, beyond anything nefarious, but considering that you've got to watch to see if he caught the. I mean, all eyes are on that play, right? Everything is watching that play. How do you not see?
Even if we talked about with the Brady pass, the roughing the passer, that it was a rough angle for the official who threw but he thought he saw what he saw. But in this case, even if you thought that the ball got there at the same time as the player and that he was entitled to hit him the way he did, he went helmet to helmet. So either way, there's got to be a flag out. Even if you thought the ball arrived at the same time that the contact, which it clearly didn't. Mm-hmm. But even if your angle kind of made it seem that way, he went helmet to helmet, which is clearly
he plowed him over. It was so blatant.
Did you see the New Orleans wide receiver Thomas looked up a rule in the rule book that the commissioner can overrule a play like that and start it over from
it's
where
stupid.
Where
it's never going to happen. Yeah, there's a
rule
rule 176B or something. Yeah, it's stupid. It's not going to happen.
All right, Larry. Thanks.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying that Larry's stupid for bringing it up, but the idea that they're going to reload.
You just called him stupid.
The idea that they're going to reload the Superdome and go, it's 3rd down and 8 from the 14-yard line. And by the way, the Rams aren't going to the Super Bowl.
It would have to have been done on the fly, and that wasn't going to happen because Goodell, he was cocktailing. He was, and by the way, I think he was at the Patriots game, to be honest.
So bad.
Okay, thanks, Larry.
Okay,
man.
thanks.
I appreciate it. And back to Johnny Rocket. What was the statement again? That respect has to be earned? No, that is absolutely not true. You don't teach your kids that. And I understand.
He doesn't say earned. He doesn't say earned.
What's he say?
He says if respect must be tendered only due to age, there's two parts, then it has no basis in the entire concept of respect. He said respect must be given before it is received.
Okay, that's what he just said. He said you basically have to earn respect. Wrong. You teach, and I hope you're teaching your kids that you come home to me and you tell me some adult was disrespectful to you, and I'll handle it. Your kid's 17 years old. He has no right, in my opinion, to start disrespecting an adult. It just shouldn't happen. It can't happen if you want to have any order in a school system. So, no, I disagree with you there. And by the way, I understand the whole video. The Native American guy was just out doing his thing. They were the weaklings in this. The other guys were the strong guys. You don't want to confront them because you get your ass kicked. The Native American guy was the easy one. And you can mock, you can do the tomahawk chop, you can do all that stuff, making fools of him because that's what we do as kids. I hate to say it, but the last thing I would ever want to be is a student teacher, because I remember what I used to do and kids in my class used to do to student teachers or maybe substitute teachers. We were horrible with them. We were disrespectful. It was wrong. And guess what? When I got home and got in trouble over it, my father made it worse. We don't do that today. Today, we allow our kids to be disrespectful. And now we're turning them into political pawns and into a political story. And to me, it's disgusting.
Jeff just added another comment. He says, I believe he's talking about the Native American gentleman who was hitting the drum, moved over to get in their face, the face of the kids.
I said this. I'll repeat it again. I think all parties were at fault. But I would not allow my kid to act that way. End of story. Jeff, if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. And I'm not talking about Jeff Manasso, who's from Fox News and on the line right now. I'm going to calm down. Good morning, Jeff Manasso.
Hey, good morning, guys.
This is another interesting story, this Notre Dame story. Tell us about this. There is Notre Dame University.
So they're going to cover up a 134-year-old mural of explorer Christopher Columbus in Notre Dame's main building after decades of complaints, not only by students, but members of the university's Native American Student Association, who have said that the images of Columbus were demeaning to Native Americans. Yeah. President John Jenkins saying that the mural's depiction of Columbus as an explorer who did good and was a friend of the Native peoples hides from view the darker side of the story, a side that Jenkins says the school must acknowledge. So there are 12 renderings on these walls. They can't be taken down without being destroyed because Italian artist Luigi Gregory, he painted these works directly on the plaster of the main building. So they're going to stay there.
How do we this is another example of us trying to erase history. And I guess retelling history may be more accurate. But the problem is, how do we erase this from our own past?
Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, some people compare these murals to, they basically say that they're Notre Dame's own version of a Confederate monument. There's an argument that can be made that these types of monuments and symbols of things that America's wrongs in the past can be used as teaching tools.
Yeah.
Instead of being taken down. So there is that argument, and there will be pictures taken of these murals and placed created somewhere else with an explanation of their context, and they will also be shown from time to time. The actual murals, according to the school. They'll be on display and shown in a way that will celebrate Catholic immigrants without marginalizing others like Native people.
Meanwhile, this all comes at a time when the Catholic Church is in the midst of these the priest story. So they have a black eye of their own to deal with. How are people reacting? By the way, how are students reacting? How are alumni reacting?
Well, I haven't seen any pushback, if that's what you're wondering. So I think that most people are on board with this.
All right. Jeff Manasso, appreciate it. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Jeff Manasso from Fox News. Accent Magazine will be published this weekend in the Observer-Dispatch because it's the final weekend of, hard to believe, January. It's in the Observer-Dispatch and Times-Telegram. With February being Black History Month, this issue will include a feature on life in Cornhill over the past 50 years from the perspective of one of its high-profile residents, Carl Boykin, a Utica Sports Hall of Famer. It's an interesting look at the changes the neighborhood has undergone over the years and where it is now. So be sure to check it out, along with a lot of other interesting content about the people and places in the Mohawk Valley. Accent Magazine is only available with home delivery, so sign up today by visiting utica.od.com. Subscribe now. That's utica.od.com/subscribe now. Or over in the Valley at the TimesTelegram.com/subscribe now. Accent Magazine, it is where you live. Do we know the Oscars that have been any nominees?
Rami Malek from Bohemian Rhapsody did get one of the nominees for leading role male.
Of course, all those nominees. This is another controversy. It's they're so afraid of offending somebody. And it's almost like we're living on the extremes right now, right? It's the far right and the far left that are arguing over where society should be today. I really don't understand it. Anyway, there'll be no host is what I'm talking about, because God forbid a host might actually offend someone at the Oscars. Got to go. Back tomorrow. Enjoy your day.